We're back again, picking the masterful brain of Mr. Troy Francis, the longest standing member of the non-Dick and Hand crew, actually still out approaching.
I'm still standing.
So, if you haven't watched the previous video, I really recommend you go and check it out. It's about leaning into rejection, getting used to approaching and getting rejected off the back of the approaching, but throwing your hat into the ring, right? The Wayne Gretzky quote of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Completely feasible here, especially with improving social skills and cold approach. You have to put yourself out there. Tip number 2 from the brilliant mind of Mr. Troy. What have you got in store for the guys?
Yeah, basically, I think something I wish I'd realised a long time ago is that your identity is not fixed, all right? So when I was young, I was very shy, I was very introverted, I was full of self-loathing, and I'm still all of those things. No, not really. No, but I thought that my persona was fixed. I thought, well, I'm just that guy. I'm the shy guy. I find it hard to socialise with people. I'm just that sort of person. And it took a while, but what I realised was that actually that was a facet of my personality, but I didn't have to act like that for the rest of my life. I wasn't imprisoned in that identity. I could actually select a different identity for myself and move it and step into that.
So was that a case of accidentally realising that? Was that a case of actually determining, a bit like the alter ego in fact book, determining what is your hero version and then trying to step into that? I mean, or was it a mix?
I think it was a mix. I think it was intellectually thinking it through, spending a lot of time sitting on my, in my bedroom, like kind of basically thinking it through, thinking, well, hang on a minute, do I have to actually be this? What would happen? Almost like the thought experiment. What would happen if I went out and I acted in a different way?
Yes.
And it was partly fueled by, taking various substances and things, but I did actually literally start to go out and almost consciously act in a different way. It's like, well, sorry, I'm not going to act like that shy, retiring dude anymore. I'm going to act like this kind of quite cocky, kind of quite arrogant sort of guy. And the amazing thing was that people started to react differently to me, including the women that were around me. And that was actually how I ended up first getting together with a girl, because for whatever persona I was putting out there, she obviously resonated with it and was attracted to it.
Well, your state, again, we talked about this in previous videos, but that state transference is very real. If you're genuinely start to believe that, okay, you get some good reactions, and you start to believe, okay, I am actually that guy, through sheer weight of will, you start to become that guy, and then women just treat you as you kind of are treating yourself, right?
Yeah, well, people won't believe this, but we saw it with King Cole last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
In the way that King Cole was that rock-solid belief in himself, and how women were reacting to him. You could see them falling into his frame. I mean, maybe you see something similar with Silk, I don't know.
Possibly, but I think they will actually, not that they're going to bother to go back through the 35 hard live streams we did, but there is actually a brilliant scene within that. We're sitting in a cafe and you see him approach a girl near the cafe, and her initial response is, kind of get away from me, but he's got such confidence and self-belief that you can see her brain start spazzing out, and she can't help but feel slightly attracted, even though he's not her type.
And that really was what game was always meant to be about. It was meant to be about, okay, maybe objectively I'm not the best guy on the planet, and whatever, but you could do certain things that would trigger her response, and she would be more attracted to you, and that's really what he was doing. So I think just realizing that you're not stuck in your persona, you're not stuck being this particular type of guy. You could step into different personas without going nuts, but you can step into a different version of yourself, and that is absolutely possible. I think it's so important.
So what are some kind of takeaway tips guys can use if they're like, okay, I want to kind of leverage that and actually apply it to my life now? How would you recommend going about that process?
I think have a think about where you are now, have a think about things that aren't working for you, and then think about the archetype that you would like to become, the kind of guy that you would like to be, and then just consciously, when you go out or when you go into a social situation, start acting as if you are that guy, and see what happens. And don't do it as like, oh my God, I'm just going to try this last goddamn thing, and then if it doesn't work, I'm going to give up and move to Montana. Just do it as a thought experiment. Just so what would happen if I do this? What would happen if tonight when I go out, instead of acting like I normally act, I act like somebody different instead? What's going to happen? Just do it as an experiment. Do it for the banter. See what happens. But you'll be amazed that actually what you'll likely find is people start responding to you differently.
Yeah, and I guess if you're applying this to club game, we're going to go out to a club tonight, but we'll be going in there deliberately cultivating quite fast social interaction to warm ourselves up, and then we're going to try and step into the roles of the really fun, energetic guys just out there having fun, almost like this kind of, charismatic ball of light that draws people in. That's how we're going to deliberately act. And I think your point about treating it as a thought experiment is great, because if you treat it like an experiment, you've got no attachment to the outcome. You're just seeing what happens. You're not invested ego-wise, are you?
You're not thinking, right, I'm going to try this thing that I saw on the internet and it'll better work or else. You're just doing it, okay, well, what would happen if I just... And you can ease your way into it in that way. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 in a few seconds. You can sort of just try doing a few things that are slightly outside your comfort zone and extend it. I mean, all that happened with me was I massively extended my comfort zone, in terms of socialising and everything. Because I used to be very shy, very self-effacing. And through a process of desensitization, I was able to, you
just became a different person.
Yeah, exactly.
Version of what you wanted to be.
Exactly. You heard it here first, guys.
See you in the next clip.